Waste lives of the upper class. Chapter 1, The Fake Engagement. The music swelled soft, orchestral, deceptive in its sweetness. Laughter tinkled through the ballroom, empty and polished. Socialites whispered behind gloved hands, their eyes darting between Elara and Killian, sensing a shift in the air. Elara forced a neutral smile, her fingers tightening around the stem of her champagne glass. The liquid inside trembled, just like her nerves. She'd spent months planning this moment, crafting every lie, curating every part of her persona to infiltrate the Hale circle. She couldn't mess it up now. Killian crossed the room in 3 long strides, cutting through the crowd like a knife through silk. The chatter died instantly. Everyone knew better than to interrupt Killian Hale when he set his sights on something or someone. He stopped directly in front of her, his head towering over hers, casting her in his shadow. The scent of his cedar and cologne wrapped around her, a familiar intoxicating poison she'd craved for years. "Elara," he said, his voice low, graveled, only for her ears. "You've been avoiding me." She tilted her chin up, refusing to cower. "I don't avoid people, Mr. Hale. I just have better things to do than chase unavailable men." A dark, mocking smirk tugged at his lips. "Unavailable?" His blue eyes flicked down to her lips, then back to her eyes, intense enough to burn. "Is that what you think?" Before Elara could reply, a high, shrill voice cut through the silence. "Killian! There you are!" Seraphina Carter sauntered over, blonde hair cascading in perfect waves over her shoulders, her white couture gown shimmering under the chandeliers. She was New York's golden socialite, Killian's longtime rumored fiancée, the woman everyone assumed would one day be Mrs. Hale. Her eyes sliced to Elara, sharp with jealousy and disdain. Seraphina looped her arm through Killian's, pressing her body flush to his. "Darling, everyone's waiting for your announcement. You promised to confirm our engagement tonight." The crowd held its breath. Cameras hidden in the corners of the room zoomed in, ready to capture the biggest society news of the year. Elara's chest tightened. This was the moment she'd been dreading. The moment all her plans crumbled. If Killian confirmed his engagement to Seraphina, her revenge would be over before it even began. But Killian ripped his arm out of Seraphina's grip without a single glance at her. He reached out, curled his fingers around Elara's waist, and pulled her flesh against his chest. The entire ballroom went dead silent. Seraphina's face drained of color. "Killian, what are you doing?" Killian ignored her completely. His gaze never left Elara's stunned face as he lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a searing kiss to her knuckles. Then, in a voice loud enough for every single person in the room to hear, he spoke. "There is no engagement with you, Seraphina." He lifted his head, his blue eyes cold and unyielding. "I'm engaged to Elara was." Elara's brain short-circuited. Engaged? To her? This wasn't part of the plan. This was worse than worse. This was a twisted, dangerous curveball that would either make her revenge perfect or get her killed. Seraphina let out a ragged gasp, her eyes shining with furious tears. "You're lying. You've been with me for 2 years. You promised me everything." "I promised you nothing," Killian said flatly. "You deluded yourself." He slid a diamond ring off his own finger, a massive, flawless emerald-cut diamond that looked worth more than Elara's entire childhood apartment building, and slipped it onto her ring finger. It fit perfectly, cold and heavy, a chain wrapped around her bone. The cameras exploded into motion. Phones rose everywhere, capturing the scandal of the decade. Killian Hale dumping New York's most beloved socialite for a nobody artist from the slums. Elara stared up at Killian, her mind racing. Why? Why would he do this? He didn't love her. He barely knew her. There was only one explanation. He knew. He knew her secret. He knew why she infiltrated his world. And he was playing a game right back with her. Killian leaned down, his mouth brushing her ear, his breath hot against her skin. His whisper was deadly, a promise of war. Play along, Elara, or I'll bury you. Chapter 2, Secrets in the Mansion. The gala ended in chaos. Serafina fled the ballroom in tears, her mother screaming at the Hale family matriarch, while every guest in attendance buzzed with the explosive news. By midnight, every social media platform in America was blowing up with the headline, Killian Hale announces shock engagement to unknown artist Elara was. Elara sat in the back of Killian's black Rolls Royce, the diamond ring burning on her finger, her heart hammering so hard she thought it would burst out of her chest. The rain still poured outside, streaking the windows, hiding the city from view. Killian sat beside her, silent, his gaze fixed forward, his jaw tight with unreadable emotion. The tension in the car was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, Elara snapped. What the hell was that back there? She demanded, turning to face him, her voice sharp with suppressed panic. You just ruined your entire social reputation for no reason. Why? Killian turned his head slowly, his blue eyes piercing into hers, no longer warm, no longer possessive, just cold, calculating, dangerous. I didn't ruin anything, he said. I controlled the narrative. Serafina's family has been trying to merge their company with mine for months. This engagement stops their power grab dead in its tracks. Elara stared at him in disbelief. So you used me as a pawn? Yes. He didn't even bother to lie. No hesitation, no remorse. You're perfect for the role. Unknown, unconnected, no family ties to manipulate me. A blank slate. Exactly what I need. Rage flared hot in her chest, mixing with the old, buried hurt she carried for years. She spent so long idolizing him, so long dreaming of him, and he saw her as nothing more than a disposable pawn. And what do I get out of this? She asked bitterly. Killian leaned in, his face inches from hers, his gaze dropping to her lips before locking back on her eyes. The air between them crackled with tension, equal parts hate and forbidden attraction. You get access to every corner of my world, he murmured. Every party, every board meeting, every secret the Hale family has ever hidden. Isn't that what you wanted, Elara? Isn't that why you've been worming your way into my life for 2 years? Her blood ran cold. He knew. He'd known all along. She'd been so careful, so meticulous, hiding her past, hiding her motives, and he'd seen right through every single one of her lies. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, her voice tight, defensive. Killian laughed, a low, dark sound that sent shivers down her spine. You think I don't know who you are? Elara was, orphan from Brooklyn. Your parents died in a fire 10 years ago. A fire that was ruled accidental. But I've read the files. I know it wasn't an accident. Every muscle in her body went rigid. That was her deepest secret. The reason for every choice she'd ever made. The reason she was here. Her parents hadn't died in a fire. They'd been murdered. Murdered by the Hale family. Killian reached out, his thumb brushing lightly over her cheek, his touch deceptively gentle. You came to New York high society to avenge them, he whispered. You came to take down the Hales. Am I right? Elara didn't answer. She didn't need to. The truth was written all over her face. The car pulled through the iron gates of the Hale mansion, winding up a long, tree-lined driveway toward the massive stone estate looming in the dark. Lights blazed in every window, warm and inviting, hiding the darkness inside. Killian's tone turned cold, final. Here's our deal, Elara. You play my loving, loyal fiancé for 6 months. You attend every event, smile for every camera, never question me, never cross me. In return, I will let you stay in my mansion. I will let you dig into every Hale secret you want. He paused, his eyes sharp enough to slice. But if you try to betray me, if you try to take me or my family down before those 6 months are up, I will destroy you. Completely. Elara stared at him, weighing her options. This was everything she'd been fighting for. Unlimited access to the Hale family's darkest secrets. The chance to finally get justice for her parents. It was also a death trap. A game with the most dangerous man in New York. But she'd never been one to run from danger. Fine, she said, her voice steady. 6 months. But when this is over, I'm taking everything your family stole from me. Every penny. Every reputation. Every secret. Killian's lips curved into a dangerous, knowing smile. We'll see, my love. We'll see. Chapter 3, The Ex's Revenge Plot. The next morning, the entire city was obsessed with the Hale's engagement. Tabloids covered every newsstand. Talk shows ranted about the shocking scandal. Social media was flooded with theories. Who was Elara was? How had she snagged the most eligible bachelor in America? Had she seduced him? Blackmailed him? Elara woke up in a guest suite in the Hale mansion, surrounded by luxury she'd never dreamed of. Silk sheets, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson River, a walk-in closet full of designer clothes Killian's staff had stocked for her overnight. But she couldn't enjoy any of it. Her mind was spinning with last night's revelation. Killian knew her entire plan. He knew she wanted to destroy his family. And yet he'd chosen to keep her close. Why? There was more to this game than she could see. More secrets, more lies, more twists waiting to break her. She swung her legs over the bed, slipping on a silk robe, and walked to the window. The sun glinted off the water, bright and deceptive. Everything looked perfect from the outside. Just like the Hale family. A soft knock sounded at the door. Come in. The door opened, and Killian stepped inside. He was dressed in a crisp gray business suit, his hair neatly styled, his face clean-shaven, every inch the powerful billionaire CEO. No trace of the dangerous, ruthless man from last night remained. He held a coffee cup in one hand, a stack of papers in the other. He set them down on the vanity, his gaze sweeping over her slowly, appreciative and sharp. You look tired, he said. I had a lot to process last night, she replied flatly. A faint smirk tugged at his lips. I'm sure you did. I've brought you your schedule for the next month. Every public appearance we have to make together. Charity galas, board dinners, press interviews. You need to memorize every detail. No mistakes. Elara walked over and picked up the papers, scanning them quickly. Dozens of events, all high profile, all designed to cement their fake engagement in the public eye. And what about Serafina? She asked. She's not just going to disappear. She hates me now. Killian's expression hardened. Serafina is spoiled, entitled, and harmless. Her family will calm down once the initial scandal fades. She won't dare cross me. He spoke too soon. Elara's phone buzzed on the vanity. She picked it up, her stomach dropping instantly. A breaking news notification popped up on her screen. Serafina Carter leaks shocking allegations. Elara was a gold-digging fraud with a criminal past. Elara's hands went cold. She clicked the link, her heart racing as she read the article. Serafina had spoken exclusively to the biggest tabloid in New York. She dug up Elara's Brooklyn roots, her orphan status, all juvenile records Elara had thought were sealed, even photos of her as a struggling teen working minimum wage jobs. The article painted her as a manipulative liar, a poor girl who schemed her way into high society to steal Killian's money and status. It claimed she'd stalked him for years, that her entire art career was a scam funded by secret rich sugar daddies. Worse, Serafina hinted at something darker. She claimed Elara had a personal vendetta against the Hale family. That she was dangerous. She's trying to ruin me before I even start, Elara muttered, her voice tight with anger. Killian leaned over her shoulder, reading the article, his jaw tightening with every word. His body went rigid, his eyes turning icy with fury. She crossed a line, he said, his voice deadly quiet. Before Elara could reply, another notification popped up. A DM from an anonymous account, sent directly to her Instagram. She opened it, and her blood turned to ice. I know why you're here, Elara. I know about your parents. If you don't leave Killian and leave New York in 48 hours, I'll release every detail of your revenge plan to the entire world. Everyone will know you're here to destroy the Hales. And Killian will kill you for it. The message was signed simply, a friend of the Hales. Chapter 4, Hidden Enemies and Forbidden Touches. Elara stared at the anonymous message for a long time, her mind racing in panic. Who knew? Who knew her secret? Who knew she was here to avenge her parents? Killian already knew, but he wouldn't send her a threat like this. He was arrogant enough to believe he could control her. This was someone else. Someone inside the Hale circle. Someone watching her every move. What is it? Killian asked, noticing her frozen expression. Elara hesitated. Should she tell him? If she did, he'd know someone else was onto her plan. He might end their deal immediately. He might lock her out before she got her revenge. She closed the DM quickly, locking her phone screen. Nothing. Just hate comments from Seraphina's fans. It was a lie. A small, necessary lie. Killian studied her face, his eyes sharp, like he could sense she was hiding something. But he didn't push it. He nodded, stepping back, his expression hardening again. Ignore the tabloids, he said. I'll have my team scrub every false story Seraphina planted. By noon, the narrative will be reversed. The public will love you again. Elara frowned. You can't control public opinion that easily. I control most of the media outlets in this city, he said flatly. Money buys everything, including the truth. His words cut deeper than he knew. The Hales had always bought the truth. They bought the lie that her parents' death was an accident. They bought silence for decades. Come downstairs, Killian said, turning toward the door. My family's waiting to meet you. My mother, my father, and my younger brother. They all know about our fake engagement. They all know the rules. Don't slip up. Elara's stomach dropped. She spent years preparing to face the Hale family, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment walking into the lion's den, engaged to the heir, forced to smile and pretend she loved the family that killed her parents. She followed him out of the suite, down the grand marble staircase of the mansion. The house was even more breathtaking in daylight. Crystal chandeliers, original oil paintings, gold trim on every surface, antique furniture worth millions. And every corner of it reeked of blood and lies. They entered the formal dining room, where 3 people sat at a long mahogany table. First was Victoria Hale, Killian's mother, a sleek, elegant woman in her 50s, with silver blonde hair and cold gray eyes. She looked at Elara with open suspicion, no attempt to hide her disdain. Next was Richard Hale, the family patriarch, a stern, powerful man with sharp features and the same icy blue eyes as his son. He watched Elara like he was appraising a business asset, calculating her worth, her risks, her uses. Last was Elias Hale, Killian's younger brother. He was younger, softer around the edges, with dark hair and warm brown eyes, the complete opposite of Killian. When he saw Elara, he smiled, bright and genuine. So this is the mysterious fiancé everyone's talking about, Elias said, standing up, walking over to her. It's wonderful to meet you, Elara. I've seen your art. It's incredible. Elara was stunned. She expected hostility, judgment, suspicion, but kindness. It threw her off balance. Thank you, she said softly. Killian's jaw tightened visibly. He stepped forward, pulling Elara close to his side, a clear territorial gesture. Elias, he warned, his voice sharp. Don't bother her. Elias held up his hands in surrender, still smiling. Relax, Brother. I'm just being polite. Victoria spoke up, her voice cold and refined. Let's cut the pleasantries. Killian, explain this engagement. Now. You embarrassed this family publicly for a girl no one knows anything about. Killian's grip on Elara's waist tightened. Elara is intelligent, talented, and loyal. She's far more suitable for this family than Serafina ever was. The engagement stands. End of discussion. Richard Hale stared at Elara for a long, heavy moment. What's your family background, Miss Voss? The question was a test. A trap. Elara kept her face calm, her voice steady, repeating the lie she perfected for years. I'm an orphan. My parents passed away when I was young. I have no living family. Richard's eyes narrowed. No family. No connections. No leverage. He nodded slowly, like he approved. Smart choice, Killian. No in-laws to manipulate us. Disgust curdled in Elara's throat. These people cared about nothing but power. Nothing but control. They destroyed her family for profit, for power, and they'd never felt an ounce of guilt. Breakfast continued in tense silence. Victoria fired off subtle, cutting questions, trying to poke holes in Elara's story. Elias kept trying to lighten the mood, complimenting her art, asking about her life. Killian stayed glued to her side, protective and possessive, his body always touching hers, selling the fake relationship perfectly. By the end of the meal, Elara's head was spinning. After breakfast, Killian pulled her aside in the hallway, away from the family's ears. You did well, he said, his voice lower, softer than before. I didn't slip up, she replied flatly. That's all it is. Killian stepped closer, crowding her against the wall. The hallway was empty, quiet, the only sound their breathing. His blue eyes locked on hers, intense and swirling with unreadable emotion. You hate my family, he murmured. You hate every part of this world. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Elara's heart raced. I have no reason to love them. Killian's hand lifted, his fingers brushing a strand of hair off her face. His touch was warm, gentle, forbidden. The tension between them exploded, hot and desperate, a mix of hatred and attraction they couldn't deny. And me? He whispered. Do you hate me too, Elara? She stared up at him, her lips parted, her mind blank. She should hate him. She should. He was a Hale. He was part of the family that destroyed her life. But she couldn't. Not completely. Not when he looked at her like this, like she was the only person in the world. Before she could answer, his lips crashed down on hers. The kiss was brutal, desperate, hungry. It was hate and longing, anger and desire, all twisted together into something devastatingly addictive. He pulled her tighter against him, his hands sliding down her back, molding her body to his. Elara melted into him despite every warning in her head. She kissed him back with equal ferocity, pouring every hidden emotion she carried for years into the kiss, the love she denied, the anger she suppressed, the fear she refused to admit. It was wrong. It was dangerous. It was the worst mistake she could make. But she couldn't stop. Chapter 5, the first crack in the lie. They pulled apart breathless, seconds later, both of their chests heaving. Killian's eyes were dark, blown wide with desire and something else, regret, conflict, confusion. He stared down at her like he couldn't believe he'd just kissed her, like he hated himself for it. Elara's lips burned. Her entire body burned. She pressed a hand to her mouth, stunned by what had just happened. That was a mistake, Killian said roughly, stepping back instantly, putting distance between them. His voice was harsh, unyielding. It won't happen again. Elara's heart ached, sharp and stupid. She nodded, forcing cold indifference onto her face. Agreed. It was nothing. Just a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness that would haunt them both. Killian cleared his throat, regaining his composure, slipping back into his ruthless billionaire mask. I have a board meeting this morning. You can explore the mansion grounds while I'm gone. Don't go into the West Wing. It's private family property. No exceptions. The West Wing. Elara's mind lit up. That was where the secrets were. The restricted area, the part of the mansion the family hid from the world. The part that might hold the truth about her parents' murder. Why is it off limits? She asked, feigning casual curiosity. Killian's gaze sharpened. Family archives. Old business records. Nothing you need to see. Stay out. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving her alone in the empty hallway, her mind racing with new possibilities. As soon as he was gone, Elara headed for the West Wing. She wasn't going to stay away from the one place that could give her answers. The mansion was quiet, most of the staff busy in the kitchen or outer wings. Elara moved silently through the corridors, her bare feet quiet on the marble floors, her heart pounding with adrenaline. The West Wing was darker, older than the rest of the house. The paintings on the walls were older, dustier, depicting generations of Hale family members, cold and unsmiling. The air felt heavier here, colder, charged with hidden history. She found a large wooden door at the end of the hallway, locked with a keycode keypad. No ordinary staff member could get in. Only family. Elara stared at the keypad, thinking fast. She'd watched Killian enter codes dozens of times before, at his office, at his private penthouse. He used the same birthday for every code, his mother's birthday. She typed in the 6-digit number. The door clicked open. Success. She pushed the door open slowly, stepping inside. The room was a massive library, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lining every wall, leather-bound books, old files, stacked archives dating back decades. A large oak desk sat in the center of the room, covered in locked drawers and old documents. This was it. This was where the truth was hidden. Elara rushed to the desk, yanking open the unlocked drawers first, flipping through files, searching for anything related to the fire 10 years ago, anything related to her parents' company, which had been bought out by the Hale Corporation days before their death. She flipped through hundreds of documents, business deals, legal contracts, family records, finding nothing. All records from 10 years ago were missing. What clean? Frustration boiled inside her. They erased every trace. Of course they had. Just as she was about to search the bookshelves, a voice sounded from the doorway, soft and unexpected. You're not supposed to be in here. Elara spun around, her heart jumping. Elias Hale stood in the doorway, his hands in his pockets, his brown eyes calm and knowing. He didn't look angry. He didn't look shocked. He just looked like he'd been expecting her. I got lost, Elara lied instantly. Elias smiled faintly, stepping into the room, closing the door behind him. You didn't get lost. You came here to look for answers. Didn't you? Elara's blood ran cold. Another person who knew. Another enemy in the house. What are you talking about? She asked, backing away slowly. Elias's smile faded. His expression turned serious, quiet, secretive. I know your parents didn't die in a fire, Elara, he said softly. I know my family killed them. And I can help you prove it. Chapter 6, The Brothers' Secret Alliance. Elara stared at Elias in utter disbelief, her mind struggling to process his words. He knew. He'd known all along. And he wanted to help her. Why? She asked, her voice tight with suspicion. Why would you help me take down your own family? Elias walked slowly toward the bookshelves, his gaze sweeping over the old archives, his expression heavy with pain and resentment. Because this family destroyed me too, he said quietly. You think the Hales are perfect? You think we're all cold, ruthless monsters like Killian and my father? I've spent my entire life trapped in their shadow. forced to be the perfect second son, forced to cover up their mistakes, their crimes, their endless greed. He turned back to her, his brown eyes sincere. 10 years ago, I was 18. I saw the paperwork. I heard my parents arguing. They planned your parents' murder to take over their tech company. They sabotaged the fire alarms, bribed the fire department, falsified every report. Elara's eyes filled with burning tears she refused to let fall. For 10 years, she thought she was alone in the truth. For 10 years, she thought no one would ever believe her. But Elias had known. He watched it all happen. Why didn't you say anything? She whispered. I was a kid, he said bitterly. I had no power. No money. No influence. If I'd spoken up, they would have ruined me. They would have buried me right alongside your parents. I've been waiting years for someone to come along and take them down. You're that someone. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I have proof. Hidden files, original police reports, recorded conversations between my father and the man he hired to start the fire. I've been hiding them for a decade, waiting for the right moment. Hope flared in Elara's chest, bright, desperate, alive. After 10 years of fighting alone, she finally had an ally. Why help me now? She asked, still cautious. Because Killian's falling for you, Elias said bluntly. He's never cared about anyone or anything except this company. But he cares about you. That's his weakness. And we can use it. Elara's heart skipped a beat. Falling for her. Killian. It was impossible. He was cold, calculating, unfeeling. Their kiss had been a moment of weakness, nothing more. He doesn't care about me, she argued. He's just using me. Elias shook his head, a sad smile on his face. You don't know my brother. He doesn't kiss pawns. He doesn't protect strangers. He doesn't let anyone get close to him. But he lets you. He's been letting you get close for years, even when he wouldn't admit it to himself. Before Elara could process his words, her phone buzzed again. The anonymous account messaged her once more. I see you made a new friend in the West Wing. Be careful who you trust, Elara. Everyone in this house is lying to you. Even Elias. Panic flared again. The stalker was watching her. Every move she made, every conversation she had, they knew. What's wrong? Elias asked, noticing her pale face. Someone's threatening me, Elara whispered. Someone knows everything. They know I'm here for revenge. They know we're talking right now. Elias's expression turned grave. There's a mole in the house. Someone loyal to my parents. Someone who's been covering their tracks for years. We have to be careful. We can't trust anyone. Footsteps echoed down the hallway outside, loud and fast. Killian's footsteps. Elara and Elias locked eyes, both freezing. He's back early, Elias hissed. Hide. Now. There was no time to run. Elara ducked behind the large oak desk, pressing herself flat against the floor, her heart hammering so hard she thought it would give her away. The door swung open seconds later. Killian stood in the doorway, his expression dark and furious, his eyes scanning the room instantly. His gaze landed on Elias, sharp and accusatory. What are you doing in here? Killian demanded. Elias stayed calm, shrugging casually. Looking for a book. Relax, brother. Not everyone's plotting against you. Killian's eyes narrowed. He stepped into the room, scanning every corner, like he could sense Elara's hidden presence. This room is restricted, Killian said coldly. Leave. Now. Elias nodded, walking toward the door, but not before shooting a quick, silent glance at Elara's hiding spot, a silent promise. I'm on your side. As soon as Elias left, Killian began searching the room, step by step, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. He was going to find her. And when he did, all their lies would shatter. Chapter 7. caught and confronted. Elara held her breath, every muscle in her body tensed, waiting for the inevitable. Killian's footsteps drew closer, slow or not, deliberate. He knew someone was hiding here. He could feel it. He stopped directly in front of the desk. For a long, terrifying second, there was silence. Then he knelt down, his blue eyes locking directly onto hers. Caught. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Elara froze, staring up at him, trapped. Killian's face was unreadable, his expression blank, no anger, no surprise, just a cold, quiet fury that was far more terrifying than rage. What did I tell you about the West Wing? He asked, his voice low, deadly calm. Elara stood up slowly, stepping out from behind the desk, refusing to cower. You told me to stay out. I didn't listen. Why? He stood to his full height, towering over her, his gaze piercing straight through every lie she'd ever told. What are you looking for in here, Elara? What secrets are you trying to dig up? The moment of truth had arrived. She could lie again, keep playing his game, keep risking everything. Or she could tell the truth, burn every bridge, and start the war she'd spent 10 years fighting. She lifted her chin, her voice steady and unafraid. I'm looking for proof that your family murdered my parents. The words hung in the air, sharp and final, breaking every fake pretense between them. Killian's jaw tightened. His eyes flashed with a storm of emotion, guilt, anger, conflict, pain. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked unsure. Vulnerable. You think I had anything to do with that? He asked quietly. Your family did, she shot back. You're a Hale. You benefit from their crimes. You cover for them. I don't cover for anyone, he snapped. I was 15 when it happened. A kid. I had no idea what my parents were doing until years later. Elara laughed bitterly. And you never stopped them. Never exposed them. Never did anything to make them pay. What was I supposed to do? Killian's voice rose, sharp and raw. They controlled everything. Every dollar, every connection, every life in this city. If I'd spoken up, they would have destroyed me. They would have destroyed any chance I had of ever taking back control of this company. He stepped closer, his eyes blazing, his voice desperate now, begging her to understand. I've spent years cleaning up their messes, Elara. Fixing their crimes. Trying to make the company honest again. I didn't kill your parents. I didn't want any of this. Elara's resolve wavered. For the first time, she wondered if she'd been wrong about him. If he wasn't the villain she'd painted him as for 10 years. But then she remembered her parents' burning house. She remembered the empty funeral. She remembered 10 years of poverty, loneliness, and loss while the Hales lived in luxury of their stolen lives. You still benefited, she said coldly. You still lived in their mansion, inherited their money, gained their power. You're still guilty by association. Killian stared at her, defeated, his shoulders slumping slightly. I know. I've always known. That's why I never stopped watching you. That's why I let you stay close. I knew you'd come for revenge. I knew you'd make me pay for my family's sins. He paused, his voice softening, almost broken. And I deserve every bit of it. The tension between them shifted instantly. No longer just hate, just revenge, now guilt, understanding, a shared pain neither of them could escape. Elara's chest ached. She'd spent so long hating him, so long building him up as her ultimate enemy, and now he was standing here, admitting his family's guilt, accepting her rage. Why did you kiss me? She whispered, the question she'd been too scared to ask burning on her tongue. Killian's eyes darkened. He reached out, cupping her face in his hands, his touch gentle, reverent, nothing like the ruthless billionaire everyone knew. Because I've been in love with you for 3 years, he admitted, his voice rough with truth. Long before I knew your revenge plan. Long before any of this. I've loved you in silence, watching you from afar, knowing I could never have you. Knowing I didn't deserve you. Elara's breath caught. 3 years. He loved her for 3 years, just as she loved him. All the silence, all the distance, all the cold stares, they'd both been hiding the same forbidden love, buried under secrets, guilt, and revenge. Before she could process his confession, her phone buzzed violently, multiple notifications popping up at once. This time, it wasn't an anonymous DM. It was a breaking news alert, blasting across every platform. Leaked. Elara Voss's parents murdered by Hale Corporation. Voss exposes family crimes in viral leak. Elara's blood turned to ice. She hadn't leaked anything. Someone had stolen her story. Someone was framing her. Chapter 8, The Public Downfall. Chaos exploded instantly. Within minutes, the entire internet was burning. Screenshots of fake leaked documents detailing the Hale family's alleged murder of the Voss parents spread like wildfire. False witness statements, doctored police reports, edited audio clips, all of it traced directly to Elara's name. The public lost its mind. One side painted Elara as a brave whistleblower, a survivor fighting for justice against a corrupt billionaire family. The other side, fueled by Serafina's earlier smear campaign, called her a manipulative liar, a blackmailer trying to extort the Hales for money. Reporters swarmed the gates of the Hale mansion, cameras flashing non-stop, microphones shoved through the iron bars, screaming for comments from Killian, from Elara, from the entire Hale family. Inside the mansion, panic erupted. Victoria and Richard Hale stormed into the West Wing minutes after the leak went viral, their faces furious, red with rage. "This is your doing." Victoria shrieked at Elara, her refined composure shattered completely. "You came into this house to destroy us. You vile, greedy girl." "I didn't leak anything." Elara fired back. "Someone framed me. I'm being set up." Richard Hale's eyes were cold, murderous. "It doesn't matter if you did or not. The damage is done. Our family name is ruined. Our stock is plummeting. We're losing billions by the minute because of you." He turned to Killian, his voice a sharp, furious command. "End this engagement immediately. Throw her out of this house. Press charges for defamation, trespassing, blackmail. Ruin her life the way she's ruined ours." Elara's heart dropped. This was the end. Her revenge was over before it began. She was going to lose everything. But Killian stepped in front of her, shielding her from his parents' rage, his body a solid, unbreakable wall. "No." The single word was quiet, unshakable, powerful enough to silence the entire room. Richard stared at his son in disbelief. "What did you say?" "I said no," Killian repeated, his voice cold and final. "I am not ending the engagement. I am not throwing her out. I am not pressing charges." Victoria let out a horrified gasp. "Killian, have you lost your mind? This girl is..." Chapter 9, The Hidden Mole and Dangerous Alliance. Killian's jaw locked hard enough to crack bone, his icy blue gaze slicing straight through his mother's hysterical outburst. The air inside the oak-paneled archive library thickened with venomous tension. Richard's knuckles whitened where he gripped the edge of a mahogany filing cabinet. Victoria's silver blonde hair fell loose from its neat chignon as she trembled with unbridled fury. "Lost my mind," Killian repeated, each syllable sharp and unyielding, one arm still wrapped protectively around Elara's waist, anchoring her securely against his side. "I'm the only one in this room thinking clearly. If I cast Elara out tonight, the public will take every fabricated leak as hard fact. They'll label the Hales as guilty cowards hiding behind wealth to silence a grieving orphan. Our board will revolt, our investors will pull funding, and every charity partnership we've built over 2 decades will collapse overnight. You want to lose billions to punish one woman. That's madness, not me." Victoria let out a shrill, bitter laugh, her gray eyes glinting with malice as she took a sharp step forward, aiming to close the gap between them. Elara tensed, half expecting a slap, but Killian shifted his weight, fully blocking his mother's path without a single glance her way. You speak as if this girl's innocence is proven, Victoria snarled, gesturing wildly at Elara's shaking frame. We all know she snuck into this restricted wing to dig up dirt on our family. She conspired with Elias earlier today. I saw them lingering in the hallway through the security camera feed. She's been plotting our downfall since the second she stepped foot in this mansion. Elara's blood ran ice cold. Security cameras. She'd never once considered the West Wing was under constant surveillance. The anonymous threat from the unknown friend of the Hales echoed loud in her head. The mole had to be someone with full access to the mansion's camera system, someone close enough to Victoria and Richard to report every secret conversation. Elias's warning echoed too, trust no one. Not even Elias. Mother, the cameras only capture footage, not context, Killian countered flatly, his tone devoid of the usual deference he reserved for his parents. Elara came here searching for answers about her parents' death, a tragedy our family is tangled in, whether you care to admit it or not. Elias only spoke to her out of misplaced sympathy, not conspiracy. And the viral leaks circulating online carry forged documents, edited audio, altered witness statements. Elara had no hand in releasing them. Someone inside these walls framed her to drive a wedge between us. Richard Hale's gruff voice boomed across the room, cutting through Victoria's raving. And what proof do you have of this framing, Killian? All we see is a destitute artist with a decades-old grudge tearing our empire apart. This engagement was already a reckless gamble, and now it's cost us billions in market value. Your loyalty to this stranger is destroying everything our bloodline built. Killian's grip on Elara's waist softened slightly, his gaze flicking down to her pale, exhausted face for a split second before returning to his father. I had my entire legal and digital forensics team working through every leaked file as we speak. They've already traced the IP address that uploaded the slanderous articles straight to a device registered to mansion staff. The mole is hiding within our own household, and I intend to root them out before sundown tomorrow. Until then, Elara stays under my protection. Victoria's face twisted with unbridled hatred. You choose this girl over your own flesh and blood. Over the legacy your grandfather founded. I choose the truth, Killian answered without hesitation. I choose to stop covering up the atrocities you and father committed 10 years ago. I've spent years cleaning up your messes, but I won't sacrifice an innocent woman to preserve our tainted reputation any longer. The admission hung heavy in the air, a bombshell neither Richard nor Victoria had anticipated. Richard's shoulders sagged, the stern, unbreakable patriarch mask slipping to reveal a flicker of genuine fear. Victoria's mouth fell open, stunned silent for the first time since the scandal broke. Elara stared up at Killian in quiet shock. She spent 10 years convinced every Hale stood united in hiding her parents' murder, yet here he was, openly defying his parents, admitting their crimes to their faces, risking the family fortune just to shield her. The 3 years of quiet, secret love he'd confessed to minutes prior crashed over her heart, mixing her burning rage with a fragile, dangerous affection she could no longer suppress. Before anyone could speak again, soft, hurried footsteps echoed down the marble hallway, and Elias appeared in the doorway, his warm brown eyes wide with alarm. He clearly overheard the shouting from the corridor, his hands stuffed nervously into the pockets of his cream linen trousers. Father, mother, there's a problem outside, Elias said quickly, darting a fleeting, worried glance toward Elara and Killian. The press crowd at the front gates has doubled. A handful of protesters holding justice for the Voss family signs have arrived, and local news helicopters are circling the mansion's roof. The head of security is begging for instructions. He can't hold them off much longer without calling the police, which will only draw more media attention. Richard let out a low, guttural growl, pinching the bridge of his nose between his thumb and forefinger. This is exactly what I warned would happen if we let that girl stay. Every minute she remains in this house fuels the public's outrage against us. Then we address the public together, Killian said firmly, a clear plan forming in his mind. Elara and I will host a live press conference on the mansion's East Terrace in 1 hour. We'll release the forensic team's preliminary findings proving the leaked evidence is fabricated, announce our investigation into the household mole, and confirm our engagement remains genuine. We'll take control of the narrative before the mole can spin more lies to destroy us. Victoria shook her head violently, stepping back as if the idea repulsed her. Absolutely not. You cannot parade this fraud in front of national cameras as your fiancé while our name is being dragged through the mud. It's humiliating beyond measure. Humiliation is temporary. Bankruptcy and criminal indictments are permanent, Killian shot back. Either we stand united to shut down the rumors, or we watch everything we own crumble to ash. The choice is yours, but I'm not backing down. Defeated, Richard waved a hand in weary surrender. Do whatever you must to salvage the company. But if this press conference backfires, Killian, you alone will bear the full weight of the consequences. Victoria spun on her heel without another word, her silk gown swishing sharply against the wooden floor as she stormed out of the archive library, her steps echoing furiously down the hallway. Richard followed seconds later, casting one final cold, threatening glare at Elara before vanishing through the doorway, leaving only Killian, Elara, and Elias alone amid stacks of forgotten, dusty archives. Silence settled over the room for a long beat, broken only by the distant hum of news helicopters overhead. Elias crossed the room slowly, his expression shifting from anxious to guarded as he leaned against the edge of the oak desk where Elara had hidden mere hours earlier. I didn't expect you to stand up to mother and father like that, Elias said quietly, directing his words toward Killian first. I thought you'd cave to their demands and send Elara away to protect the company. Killian's gaze didn't leave Elara's face, his thumb brushing gentle circles over her hip through the soft fabric of her simple linen dress. I can't send her away. Not now, not after everything we've uncovered. Someone is deliberately framing her to bury the truth about the fire 10 years ago, and I won't let them win. Elias's brown eyes flickered to Elara, his tone dropping to a hushed, cautious whisper. Speaking of the truth, I brought the physical proof I mentioned earlier. I stashed a USB drive with all the original police reports, audio recordings, and bribe receipts in the lining of my jacket. I didn't dare hand it over while our parents were here. Victoria has eyes and ears everywhere inside this estate. Elara's heart surged with desperate hope, her fingers curling into loose fists at her sides. After a decade of fruitless searching, the tangible evidence to convict the Hales of her parents' murder was finally within reach. Yet the anonymous DM's warning looped endlessly in her brain. Be careful who you trust, Elara. Everyone in this house is lying to you. Even Elias. She studied Elias's face, searching for any flicker of deception, any tell that he planned to double-cross her. His features held only quiet sympathy, a lingering resentment toward his own parents that she recognized all too well, the same bitter loneliness that had defined her own teenage years after losing her family. Still, that knot at the back of her throat. What if this USB drive was another trap planted by the mole to incriminate her further? Killian sensed Elara's hesitation, his arm tightening slightly around her waist in silent reassurance. We'll examine the files together in my private penthouse suite after the press conference. No cameras, no staff access, no risk of our parents intercepting the evidence before we can act on it. Elias nodded, reaching into the inner pocket of his blazer and pulling out a tiny silver USB drive clutched between his fingers. He held it out toward Elara, pausing halfway as a distant soft clink echoed from the hallway outside the library door, the faint sound of a ceramic mug being set down on a marble side table. All three froze instantly. Someone was listening outside. Elias quickly stuffed the USB back into his jacket lining, sliding his hands into his pockets to hide the movement, while Killian stepped forward to block Elara from the line of sight of the doorway. Elias raised his voice to a casual, neutral volume, masking their secret conversation with trivial small talk for any hidden listener. I still think the charity art showcase you're curating next month will draw massive crowds, Elara, Elias said loudly, forcing a light, relaxed smile onto his face. I'd love to purchase one of your abstract landscape pieces for my downtown loft once the scandal dies down. Elara caught on immediately, forcing a calm, polite smile to match his act. That's very kind of you, Elias. I'd be happy to reserve a piece for you once all this media chaos comes over. Killian played along as well, his tone businesslike and detached, no trace of the raw emotion he displayed minutes prior. The foundation will cover all gallery rental fees for the showcase to repair the damage to Elara's public reputation. My PR team has already drafted statements framing her artwork as a powerful story of overcoming hardship. After 30 seconds of hollow, meaningless pleasantries, the faint distant footsteps retreated down the hallway, fading toward the main staircase. Only then did Elias exhale a shaky breath, his shoulders slumping with relief. The mole was definitely eavesdropping, Elias muttered, glancing at the closed library door with unease. Whoever it is has been monitoring every private conversation we've had since Elara moved into the mansion. My money's on Margaret, mother's personal housekeeper. She's worked for our family for 20 years, reports every small detail straight to Victoria, and has full access to all security camera feeds and guest suite passcodes. Elara's mind raced, connecting the dots one by one. Margaret would have access to every wing of the mansion, could sneak into guest rooms to plant tracking devices or steal personal data, and would have motive to protect Victoria and Richard in exchange for decades of generous employment. It fit every clue left by the anonymous threats, every fabricated leak tracing back to an in-house device. Margaret makes sense, Killian agreed, his expression hardening with suspicion. I'll have security pull footage of her entering the West Wing's camera control room over the past 3 days. If she's the one uploading forged documents and sending threatening anonymous messages to Elara, we'll have irrefutable proof by tonight. Elias glanced at the vintage gold watch strapped to his wrist, panic flicking across his features as he noted the time. We only have 40 minutes until the live press conference. The PR team is setting up microphones and camera equipment on the East Terrace right now. You two need to go upstairs to your suite to change into formal attire and review the prepared statements before reporters arrive. Killian nodded, turning to Elara and cupping her cheek gently in his palm, his blue eyes softening from their usual cold ruthlessness into something tender and vulnerable only she got to witness. Whatever happens at the press conference, don't panic. Stick to the script our lawyers drafted, and don't answer any off-script questions about your parents' fire until we've verified Elias's USB evidence together tonight. I won't let the reporters twist your words to paint you as a villain. Elara leaned unconsciously into his warm palm, all her carefully built walls of hatred and distrust cracking under the weight of his quiet devotion. She spent years convincing herself he was just another greedy, complicit Heir, yet every choice he'd made since the gala fake engagement proved otherwise. Even so, the ghost of her dead parents lingered heavy in her chest. She could never fully let herself fall for him, not while justice remained unfulfilled. I'll follow your lead, she whispered, her voice barely audible in the quiet archive room. But after we uncover the full truth about what your parents did, there's no going back. I can't stand beside the Hales as your fiancé once the world learns their crimes. Killian's thumb brushed lightly over her lower lip, his gaze filled with quiet sorrow and acceptance. I know. Whatever choice you make when all the secrets surface, I won't hold you to our 6-month fake engagement deal. If you walk away to seek justice against my family, I won't stop you. I only ask for one chance to stand with you, not against you, when the truth finally comes out. The quiet promise hung between them, fragile and charged with unspoken love and unavoidable heartbreak. Elias averted his eyes, giving them a small moment of private intimacy before clearing his throat to remind them of the looming press conference deadline. Killian reluctantly pulled his hand away from Elara's face, lacing his fingers tightly through hers instead, gripping her hand like a lifeline as they walked toward the library doorway. "We'll meet you on the East Terrace in 30 minutes, Killian told Elias over his shoulder. "Keep an eye on Margaret and any suspicious staff activity while we're upstairs. If she attempts to leave the mansion or contact outside tabloids before we confirm her guilt, alert security immediately." Elias nodded, slipping the silver USB drive deeper into his jacket lining for safekeeping. "I'll stay here in the archive library to look through old business ledgers from 10 years ago, cross-referencing payment records to the contractors my parents hired for the fire. I'll bring all matching documentation to your suite after the press conference to compare with the files on the USB." Hand in hand, Killian and Elara stepped out of the dim, secret-filled archive wing and into the bright, sunlit marble hallway, the distant roar of news helicopters growing louder overhead as they climbed the grand staircase toward Killian's private penthouse suite on the mansion's top floor. As they ascended the steps, Elara's phone buzzed once inside her dress pocket, a new anonymous Instagram DM popping up on the screen when she discreetly pulled it out to check. The message sent a cold shiver racing down her spine. "Xinghao, I saw you exchange soft words with Killian in the archive. Don't let his pretty lies fool you. All Hales are born liars. By sunset tomorrow, every secret you've hidden about your quest for revenge will be broadcast live to every news channel in the country. No amount of his protection can save you, Xinghao." Elara quickly locked the phone screen, shoving it back into her pocket without showing Killian the threatening note. If the mole was already watching their quiet moments together, the danger closing in around them was far greater than either of them had realized. The press conference in 1 hour wasn't just a battle for public opinion, it was the first move in a deadly game where Elara's freedom, Killian's empire, and the